Tired of tournaments that last only 4 weeks and end with only Italy feeling good? LEC is here for you. Tonight we pit players from a grab bag of European countries toe-to-toe in combat that'll make you say, wow, that's a lot of Danes and Swedes. First, a fiery showdown between two teams who have no history or rivalry whatsoever. But that won't stop us from building one. It's the Misfits, a team whose most mischievous deed was giving the fans false hope, versus the most British roster without any Brits on it, Excel. Speaking of not making playoffs, Astralis go head-to-head with a star-studded Fnatic in a match that'll make you say, hey, maybe my high school bully wasn't that bad after all. And that's just day one. Tomorrow, we witness the making of history. Not the same as that other history in those other games. New history that can only be made by Fnatic and G2 going toe-to-toe in a best-of-1 where the draft is probably really one-sided and one of the teams forgot to pay their internet bill. But first, a face-off experts have been preparing for weeks, calling it the reason no one really wants best-of-3. It's XL versus SK. If you want a league that'll keep on giving you League of Legends action, then this is the league for you. Non-stop European action. League of Legends doesn't sleep in Europe, but you might when we pit Astralis versus Rogue in a match where Rogue will probably get an early game lead and slowly but surely close it out, or throw. Still not enough league for you? Me either, which is why I just trash talk to your favorite players so you can stay engaged and enraged every day of the week. Sorry, Reckless. Guess I just prefer a more active approach to AD carry. In playoffs, we put the 6 best teams in Europe up against each other in a grueling mix of 3, 4, or 5 game series, supported by musical content that toes the line between damn, the LEC is good and damn, these casters are self-indulgent. All of that just to decide which one of our teams will lose to a representative from the LPL in a tragically one-sided fashion. But hey, maybe this time it won't be G2 or Fnatic. Legacy, Dynasty, Kings, Reckless, New Era, Peak League of Legends, LEC.
Welcome to Berlin, Germany, home of the LEC. The second round robin continues with week 6, and for the teams fighting in the middle of the pack, this is where your dreams of playoffs can ignite. We can see Excel Esports arriving at the studio, and they have never made it into the top 6, but today they are looking to bounce back versus Misfits Gaming. I'm Sjokz, joined by Caedrel and the CEO of Wishilin and Solo Bolo, Thebausffs. Hello, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey guys, hey guys.
It's just Youngbuck there.
Me and Boss have been playing a lot of duo queue in high-low, you know. We've been doing some coaching as well, so.
Yep.
Yeah, for TLDR, for people who don't know you, can you describe yourself in like 3 words?
I'm just a streamer, very bad at games, and that's what I'm known for.
Okay. Perfect. I can't wait to hear what you'll bring to the LEC. And of course, last week, LEC Summer lit up with some epic games. And while the top 4 looks pretty clear, Caedrel, there's still a very close race for the last playoff spot if you look at kind of the middle of the table.
Yeah, I think if you look at our just current top 5, I think that's probably what's going to be making it into playoffs. Misfits obviously sitting comfortable with those 7 wins that they picked up in the first half of the split. But then Astralis, Vitality, XL, I see the teams are the ones fighting for this 6th spot. Schalke and SK, I'm kind of counting them out unless some kind of miracle does happen. We've seen it before, but I'm going to doubt it for now, and I think those are the 3 teams I'm looking at.
And Boss, who do you think out of the teams that are kind of near the bottom or the middle of the table have the best chance of making that run for playoffs?
Yeah, I'm going to look at Vitality. I think the mechanics in that team are going to pull through and get the wins.
Yeah, and something that something you were also saying was like they're just progressively getting better because they're getting more experience together as a team.
Yes, that too.
Yeah, indeed. Well, Vitality, you're not alone in that opinion. A lot of people say they should be the team to make it, as you say, because of that mechanical prowess. But it just needs to play out that way as well. I do want to take a look at a couple of important moments from last week, namely this Astralis versus Misfits game. And Boffs, this backdoor was just absolutely incredible.
Oh, yeah.
Magic Felix making it work for the team.
Yeah, it was so exciting watching this live, and I'm just excited. Like I'm excited and happy for just that it was MagiFelix who did this, because you know nobody has doubted that he was the best solo queue player out there. Like Dopa, sure, but MagiFelix is also up there. But the problem has always been Sjokz on stage. But here, high stakes situation, and what does he do? He goes for a risky backdoor TP. That's not something a Sjokz would do, and
yeah.
I'm very happy for him.
100%, and they were losing this game, right? They came back, actually closed it out for the entire team, and the way he played that backdoor was just phenomenal. The mechanics he had to actually kill VTO and then just juke out Vander and actually get the Nexus.
Yeah, just as Buff says, maybe we look at it and we think, oh, you should have done this in this situation, but that is not the truth. There is so much pressure on you when you play on stage. Yeah. I do also want to talk about Fnatic, and I feel like almost quietly they've been crushing it like no other team. They have won 8 wins in their last 9 games. It's really insane. They had a super close game versus XL as well. But Caedrel, I almost think we're not talking about it enough, but then of course the fans will say all you do is talk about Fnatic. But just the way they have been winning most of their games.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of attributes you can go to it, right? They have a really powerful bot lane, one of the best in the league. Nisqy stepping up this split and is having a fantastic time. Adam's getting better as the weeks go on, and so is Bwipo. So there's a lot of things that you can look at in this team and say, wow, that's what's making them better. I think for me, the biggest thing is just the mood in the team. When you look at the content they do, the voice comms, the out-of-game stuff, they're just meshing well together. They're having a really great time together, it seems. They're all friends, and I think that Yamato is kind of, as their coach, instilling this philosophy into them as like a brotherhood. And I think that's what I see in Fnatic, and that's what I think is a big attribute as to why they're picking up so many wins, because everyone has each other's back.
Yeah, Buffs, what do you think is working so well for Fnatic so far?
Yeah, I mean, gonna talk a lot about Adam today, so I'm not gonna mention him in here, but he's great. I feel like Nisqy is stepping up, of course, and yeah, they're just a really good team.
I think that's a great shout, because Nisqy is also not someone we talk about necessarily that much, but he's been quietly having one of the best seasons in his career.
Yeah, and if you think of Nisqy, you think of almost like this supportive player in the years past. You know, Twisted Fate, Galio, kind of helping his team and snowballing his team, being proactive around the map. But what we're actually seeing is things like the Sylas and stuff, where he's sort of the resource taker and the carry for the team. He gets a lot of resource from jungle, and they play through mid to help him out a little bit.
Fantastic. Now, as a quick refresher on our summer playoffs format, while the top 6 from the summer season will advance into the playoffs, their seeding will be determined by their championship points, which carry over from the spring split as well. So if we take the current standings and the head-to-heads into account, this is what the seeding for playoffs would look like. And this would also mean that as a _1 team here, Rogue would be able to pick out of G2 and Fnatic who they want to play, and the Mad Lions would play the other one, and then Vitality would play, Misfits would play Vitality or Astralis in that first lower bracket game.
Yeah, and the first place and the second place teams who get those third and fourth place teams, obviously they can go into the losers bracket, right? So they can afford to drop 1 series. If they win, they go straight through anyway. So
exactly, and also very important is if you make it in the top 4, you only need to win 1 series to make it to Worlds. So we'll see how that plays out. Super crazy.
It's a huge, considering just Europe only has 3 spots at Worlds now, right?
I keep forgetting.
You look at LPL, you look at LCK, they have 4 spots. So that extra win to just secure it, to alleviate the pressure, so you can actually focus on the playoffs themselves, is a huge deal, I think.
Buffs, who do you think goes to Worlds from EU?
G2, of course. Think Fnatic have a very good chance, and the last one, gonna put out a wild card there. Vitality.
Vitality.
Okay. I love it. Well, we'll see indeed. And now also we are going another patch forward. We were on patch 11.13, which brought a lot of changes already. And this week we're getting some new ones with 11.14. Caedrel, what is the lowdown?
So there's a lot of changes here. I think the 2 biggest nerfs for me are Nocturne, first of all, because his passive no longer does that much damage to the minions itself, so you can't push the waves easily. His win rate dropped a lot, solo lane Nocturne specifically, not jungle Nocturne. And then Akali. Now Akali's numbers did get changed a little bit, but the biggest thing that hurt Akali was the interaction. When you use E and then you use E2, which is the flip back to do a lot of burst damage, you can't actually Q in that animation anymore. What you'd see Akalis do is flip, throw their shurikens and get a big burst out of damage. You can't do that anymore, so Akali feels a little bit clunky to pro players. And then I think the adjusted champions are big, right? Irelia has been kind of reworked. Her W is now crazy damage and has magic prevention as well, on top of the physical damage prevention. Lilia has a little bit changed. I don't think we'll see her this weekend. Mundo, base stats are a lot higher. And then just to round it out, Tahm Kench. Now, Tahm Kench got changed a lot recently, especially in 11.13. And I think that when you look at his rework, I think people kind of thought that he was going to go towards the top lane, but I've been seeing him a lot towards the support anyway. Regardless of not having that eat, he does a lot of damage in the early game.
Yeah, he still does. Boss, do you think we'll see a lot of changes, particularly in the top lane coming into the meta this week because of 11.14?
Yeah, I just want to add, the Akali nerfs. I think we're all thankful for that.
Yes.
Thank you, Riot Games. That was a complete disaster, what Akali was. Anyways, I want to talk a little bit about Hullbreaker item. It was actually added last week already, but no one seems to have picked it up. And I do believe it's kind of a sleeper OP item, and I really think people should consider picking it up.
In what situations?
Well, I played a bunch of Hullbreaker games, and what I found to be the best is if people were to pick Lulu, Karma top lane, these people that want to group and want to help out their team, you get a split push in there. We do Hullbreaker, and these support mages, they can't deal with the cannons, and the turrets are gonna go down, and they need help with from their jungler, and yeah. Versus support mages, Hullbreaker, amazing item.
Yeah, definitely, especially considering tier 2 towers are kind of buffed, right? They give a lot more gold, so it kind of inherently makes it so split pushing has more value. Right now, the meta is all about fighting around Drakes, but throwing a curveball in there and having something like the Hullbreaker where, like Bao said, you can just kind of hit the tower in their face. They don't have the wave clear to deal with the cannon, and they don't have the damage to all in you, so just profit in the end.
As a bit of a follow-up question for you two, and maybe also Caedrel as an ex-pro player. Do you find that sometimes because you're focusing so much on training and scrimming so much that you don't have as much time to look for kind of these, you know, small things that could give you the edge, that could be secretly OP when you're in kind of the routine?
So I think the way pro play works in terms of scrims, Thursday, Wednesday scrims before the Friday games are really important. So these are like fundamentals, meta things, the things we want to practice. Monday, Tuesday, there's a lot more freedom in it. When there's a new patch, a player has an idea in solo queue that he's seen. That's when you start to implement the ideas in Monday, Tuesday. That's why you see a lot of Monday, Tuesday scrims are very bloody and have a lot of random picks in it. Then towards Wednesday, Thursday, you've kind of solidified what you want. So there is kind of room for practice. It's not that big, but it's still there.
Okay, very interesting. Thank you for that. Let's also talk about some of the rookies, because so far this season, we've seen 6 new rookies take to the LEC stage, and we want to take a look at some of them. These are the ones that are starting this week. And we also want to know your pick for Rookie of Summer based on the first 5 weeks. So be sure to head over to discord.lec.gg and vote now. Love our Discord community. But then let's see, you know, a couple of rookies that have made waves, I think. Caedrel, who do you have your eye on?
Yeah, so I'm just looking at Adam Lilip, because I think they're just both on kind of different ends in the spectrum when it comes to joining a team. So Lilip joins a team that's already struggling. They're 0-7. They're yet to even pick up a win. And then there's not that much pressure on him, right? I mean, the team's already struggling. You're just there to kind of show up. But he managed to find them wins, right? Then on the other side, you've got Adam, who joins historically one of the best teams Europe's ever had. You're filling Whippo's shoes, who was a world's finalist. So there's a lot to live up to. And I think both of them have lived up to exactly what they need to do.
Yeah, you said already, Thebausffs, that you'll be talking a lot about Adam in this weekend. Why are you so excited? If
I'm gonna take the top laner here, of course. I know the most about him. I've been laning against him a bunch of times in solo queue, right? And when you get to play versus someone that much, like this guy humiliates me every time, right? He has insane mechanics. He does this crazy thing. He goes full lethality set and then crit Volibear, and he just completely humiliates me every time. Like you can this guy mechanic off the roof.
I think that's awesome as well, because especially seeing as you're like a high elo player, you get to play against all these top laners. They're testing things in solo queue as well, it seems. So
yeah, very interesting. I hope we see some of the more non-traditional picks as well coming out of Adam as the season progresses. We also need to talk about the Excel rookie specifically, and I think if Excel do manage to make it to the playoffs, they deserve so much credit, Markoon and Advienne.
100%. This team looks kind of like soulless for the first couple of weeks with Dan and Denik. It didn't feel like they were very proactive. They were just kind of waiting for things to happen. There wasn't even the small things like cross maps coming. It just felt like the team just kind of fell over and just used Splash like Magikarp. Now you've got Markoon and Advienne, who are just so proactive on the map. Whether it's mechanics, whether it's just kind of general shot calling, or whether it's cross mapping, any of these things, they're on the ball. It's fantastically, you know, they faced up against such strong teams last weekend. Although they did lose against teams like Fnatic, you know, and Mad Lions, I think they put up a hell of a fight.
Absolutely, they did. Let's take a look at what Discord said. Adam is dominating the votes on Discord. He has over 283 votes, and Markoon is following second with 114. So yeah, Markoon and Adam, but it does seem like Adam. If the vote was today, I think Adam would probably win. No?
Oh yeah, I think so. And I think I would give it to Adam personally myself as well. Fantastic split. He's a great player. Fantastic growth.
But don't let us influence you.
Yeah, but yeah, no, if you saw there, just Markoon stats first in everything, right? Jungle proximity, kill.
He's only played for 2 weeks, so.
He's only played for 2 weeks, but the actual proactivity he's bringing to the team is just really impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. And tomorrow, we'll see Adam in action in our match of the week as he and Fnatic take on their rivals, G2 Esports.
times when you come together as a team is when you're losing. I think when you're winning, it's easy to forget why you're winning in the first place.
It feels like G2 is not very used to losing. You have two choices: to come back stronger out of it and learn a lot, or to crumble as a team. And I've experienced both. I hope they can turn it around, so we'll have a good match.
I just really like the way that Fnatic is playing recently. Whatever Bwipo chooses to do, the whole of Fnatic will pile up and go with the same call. And that's probably what G2 is going to have to work around, because Bwipo is also very aggressive, and that can be heavily punished by caliber of players in G2 that are so quick to punish mistakes.
No matter what form either of these teams are in, it is always a thrill to watch G2 and Fnatic go toe-to-toe.
Definitely is a thrill. I thought that was an exceptional video, as always, from our video team, but especially with the weight that these two organizations carry when they go up against each other. They're both coming off a 2-0 week. So, Caedrel, we should see kind of a prime example, because sometimes the games are duds, right, between them. Yep. They're not each in form, but they look to be both in form very well. So, and this could be the very first time that Fnatic, I believe, beats them twice in the regular season, but don't check me on that.
That'll be big for the best of ones. That'll be cool.
Big.
No, definitely. Fnatic got the better hand on them last time, although G2 had a good early game. I think the draft played a big part as to why they lost to Fnatic that previous time. But like you said, both these teams coming off high highs. You know, G2 having their 2-0 weekend after the struggle. Fnatic winning 8 out of the last 9 games, right? So they're definitely living up to what we would want from a team like this in such a stacked roster on both angles. And if you look across both teams, you have such star-studded players as always. So rivalry's there, but I think both these teams look on form, which is really important.
That they do. Do you know who's more tilted coming out of solo queue this week, Thebausffs?
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, I think G2 is going to take it home. It's going to be an ADC difference. Reckless is going to embarrass Upset on stage.
I see.
That's what I think is going to happen.
Okay, we'll see.
Well, it will be on stage, which is awesome, right? It's Game 5. Players are going to be here. It's been a long time since we've seen G2 and Fnatic against each other on stage.
That it has. And what do you think of the hair difference?
Yeah, Caps is looking interesting. But I like it.
Yeah, I think it looks great, and it's worked well for him.
Yeah, he's been playing better without it.
Do you agree with his prediction, G2?
Oh, you're putting me on the spot here. I'd say Fnatic's going to win.
Okay, let's see then what happens. So, before we go any further with the Buffs right here in the flesh, we're also going to get the full solo queue experience from proxy farming to vocabulary. So what we wanted to do is get you acquainted with a couple of terms that you're going to hear today and that you are going to need. We're going to start with Weepy Yee Yee.
So, what is that?
Well,
oh, is it well played?
You tried, Sjokz. It's well played, Yee. And yeah. Anyways, it's just something you say after the game. It's exact same as YVP, you know?
Okay.
Good game, well played. You just say it the other way around.
And it's not like in a specific, like if you really stomped someone, if you lost heart.
Say it every game.
It works all the time.
To be respectful to your opponent.
I see, okay. Being respectful to your opponent, that's really
fair enough. Yeah, no, definitely. Sometimes I write GG well played, but if I'm a bit tilted. But I think you write it every game, don't you?
Of course.
Of course.
Okay.
Absolute example. Secondly, what I've heard also on your stream is a good death. So what constitutes a good death?
A good death? Well, people have this perception dying, it can be really bad in League of Legends, you know, you want to stay away from dying. But sometimes a good death in this situation would be if you died, but maybe you get something for it, like you might get a dragon, you might absorb pressure. It's basically when the 300 gold value, you get more than the 300 that the opponent gets.
Yeah, whether
that
it's
is a good death.
Yeah, whether it's you getting the resources or someone cross-mapping, I think that dying is an overlooked thing when it comes to League of Legends. Fake pressuring, tactical inting, there's many ways of saying it, but good death's definitely one of them.
Okay, and then finally, solo bolo, I think one of the most famous of your terms. So is any solo kill a solo bolo?
Solo bolo. Yeah, no, there's rules, of course, to a solo bolo. First of all, no ally assistance, it's you and you alone. No teammate nearby. Second of all, if you're a Riven, you're a Camille, and you kill a Yuumi, that's just a kill, you know. That's not really a solo bolo. There has to be some kind of fight.
Okay.
And that's when it truly is.
Evenly matched champions that take each other out. I love it, a solo bolo. So let's apply what we learned right now to some of the outplays rather from LEC Summer so far in solo bolo with the ball.
OTP on support from the rest of GG. Oh, Caps!
Burn! What? There it is. Solo bolo.
What an amazing intro.
I love that video.
Did you like it?
That was great.
Yeah, great guys. That's just great.
Great stuff. Let's take a look at some of the kills, and then you can tell us if it was really a solo bolo or not, and also kind of if you have any other ways to describe it. Let's take a look at this one.
So this is Broken Blade versus Wunder. I think this is week 1 Nocturne versus Sed, and Wunder has no flash.
It's close.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Nocturne wins out. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Good spacing, good usage of W there. Very nice.
And this was 1v1, right? No assists.
Yep. That's a solo bolo.
That's a solo bolo?
Yep.
Nice.
Okay, we take those. We take those. Broken Blade gets his solo kill.
This one?
There is Yannax.
Yep. Yannax. He's going for the dive onto Armut.
Ooh, a little bit of assistance there.
Yeah, I
don't
think
know.
there's an assist. Let's see.
I wouldn't.
Did Diana connect with damage? We'll have to see, because I think he ulted and then W'd. But I think Trees just got there.
Trees didn't respect the 1v1.
What about this, the Gwen?
Oh
my God.
Yeah, that champ is okay, by the way. Yeah.
But you did say, like,
That's a
solo
cool
bolo,
shot.
it has to be, like, fair. So is it, like, fair if you get a solo bolo with Gwen?
If your name is Gwen, you can't, yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't count.
It is what it is.
You're disqualified.
And you're upset?
Upset going for it.
Okay. That's a dive.
Aggressive dive, completely 1v1 as well.
That's level 7 dive. Does that count?
Impressive, that's very, very nice. And very aggressive play, I like it.
Okay. Does he get bonus points for diving as well?
Yep.
And now Adam.
Oh, Adam.
In the enemy jungle.
My favorite player. On his signature Olaf.
Aggressive.
That's like a 1v3 situation. He just
That's an
completely
insane.
obliterates.
I love it.
That guy is a monster.
Especially as a jungler, when the enemy top laner comes and just kills you in your jungle.
Yeah, you're
That's
like,
the sign
you're
of, like,
that's fun.
guys, it's looking like it's about
What's
that time.
going on? Better FF. Now, we have a little bit of a habit here in the LEC of introducing new stats, for instance, to talk about the game in different ways. And last week, it was win expectancy. Now, we're going to talk about the solo bolo king. Or Kung,
there he is
whatever.
again.
There he is again.
And it's Adam. Though this is actually not fabricated or nothing, he does have 10 solo kills and 5 solo kills at 15. The guy's nuts.
Yeah, and I think that's 10 solo kills, and he's played 11 games so far in this. So that's almost a solo kill a game.
One per game.
Almost, yeah.
But no Scion games.
But no
though.
Scion games ahead at the bottom there. 0 Scion
No
games.
Scion games.
Might have to have a chat with him.
We might get it today.
Might get it today.
We need to have a chat with him, perhaps. Let's hope we see some more solo bolos today as LEC Summer continues with Week 6, as said, for a couple of teams. It is high time to pick up some wins if they want to get to the playoffs, I think, especially as we get the schedule up. A team like SK Gaming, who only has 2 wins yet. Also the teams like Vitality in the middle, who need more of them. So, I mean, it's going to start getting real difficult.
Oh, yeah, it definitely is. And I think if you're looking at XL and Vitality as the front runners for this race for 6th place, right? XL actually has an easier schedule right now, and it gets very tough in the last week. Rogue, you know, G2, all those kind of things in the last week. Whereas Vitality, it's vice versa. Vitality, you can see facing G2 today. They're going to be facing hard teams this and next weekend, but then it's to slowly get easier. So, contrast in kind of strength of schedule. So, picking up wins early now if very important is really, for XL, sorry, is really important.
Okay, we'll see what happens in Excel. They are looking to get a win on the board after an 0-2 yesterday, and they're up for last week rather, and they're up versus Misfits. And earlier, Laure caught up with Youngbuck.
Thank you, Sjokz. And Youngbuck, thank you so much for joining me ahead of your game. Feels great to have you back in the studio. How are you doing?
We're doing really well, and
Awesome.
yeah, it's a very fun week for us right now. We've had two very tough opponents last week and the week before that, and now we play against a team that is almost qualified for playoffs, that we feel like it's a game that we can really steal away and get an extra point on the board for the playoffs race. So it's very exciting coming back on stage with such a loaded game.
Right, and touching a bit on last week, as you said, you went 0-2, but against top teams, top 3 teams. So I do want to think that XL still looked good regardless of the lose, but what did you learn from playing these teams, actually?
The main thing we take away from this is that in team fights, we were falling a little bit short, and that can be a lot because of the experience that we were lacking as a team. So this week, we basically only focused on team fighting, setting up for team fights, because we feel if we want to make playoffs and want to win those games, it's going to come down a lot to executing on the team fights and building up that synergy. So all in all, we were really positive at the end of the week, even though we went 0-2. Like the atmosphere is really good. We're still working together, and yeah, it's just everyone feels like we can make playoffs.
Yeah, and it feels this way too. I don't want to jinx anything, but as you said, I mean, it takes synergy to find the creativity you need in team fights, and you brought in 2 rookies in the mid-season. I mean, that's not something I think a lot of fans expected, but it's been working so well with Markoon and Advian. Amazing job from them. But how has it been working with this team, this new team, and how do you explain the fast results you had?
It's been a wild ride, and it's almost impossible to explain how it happened, because we kept a good eye on the BTXL roster, and we could see that a lot of the players had like a LEC level of play, but we didn't think that the team would synergize so well and do so well. And in Excel, especially the past 12 months or so, our scrims haven't been going that well. And since making these changes, we're not only doing well on stage, but also in scrims. So it created a completely different atmosphere where you're kind of stepping out of the underdog position into feeling like, hey, we have something going on here. And we can maybe already do really big things this split, making playoffs, maybe put a dent in a playoffs team and during the playoffs itself. But even in a worst case scenario, we feel like if we give this roster more time and make it to, let's say, not make it to playoffs, I think there's still a lot of positivity and a lot to work with for the future.
Yeah, it's a way to build a long-term project maybe. But touching a bit on Advian and Markoon again, I love how aggressive they can be, especially in the early stages of the game. Did you expect to find rookies so aggressive, confident, and yeah, how has it been working with them?
It was a bit expected in the scrims, but I did think that going onto stage, especially first game against a team like G2, they weren't going to be as aggressive and maybe wait it out a bit, but they were actually the ones leading the charge in all the fights. So it's been a very positive surprise, and since they had a really good showing in their first online game, I hope they bring that to the stage as well today.
Yeah, and let's see how it goes today for them and for you against Misfits. A few words on this game maybe before I let you go?
I think it's maybe one of the most important games left for us, because we have to win 4 or 5 games to make playoffs. And if we need to win 4 games, we can lose this one. But if you are looking for that 5th game, this is the team we have to beat. So for us, it's a really big game because it just solidifies us or gives a little bit less pressure for the future games.
All right. Well, I wish you the best of luck against Misfit today. Thank you so much for the interview, Youngbuck. And Sjokz, back to you.
Thank you so much, Laure. It's also wonderful seeing you again doing the interviews on stage, and there hearing from Youngbuck. Yeah, it's going really well, and I don't really know why. It just clicked, and sometimes it happens, right?
Yeah, definitely, and it does, and I think that's amazing for XL, right? But I think that these wins are really important. They need to get their head down. They need to get 4 or 5 wins at least to actually make it. And I think the big thing I'm looking at for this game today is it's the first time for Markoon and Advian on stage in the LEC. So we'll see how they perform. I hope they do well, obviously, but I think that does come into more pressure sense when it comes to the mental side of things.
Yeah, maybe you can shine a light on that. It's different, right, when you're in the studio as opposed to playing from home.
Definitely.
Yeah, how different is it? How difficult?
It's the nerves and everything. It's way more comfortable playing at home, you know. So that's the big thing, I would say.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm sure they'll do fantastically, though. I also want to talk about Misfits because, yeah, I think it's kind of maybe unfair to them that we keep talking about, oh, they're doing so well, but when is the other shoe going to drop? When are they going to drop all these games? Now, unfortunately for them, they went 0-2 last week, the Thebausffs, but they still have a lot of games that they won already this season. What do you think has been the best part about the Misfits so far?
0-2 is not good, but I think if they were to get wins, it's coming from Razork. That guy is a monster. He's always top 10 in solo queue, been rank 1 many times. Like mechanics and just game knowledge, this guy is on another level when it comes to jungle.
Yeah, and I think in the early game, he's just leading the team. I think that what Misfits has found as a formula works for them. I just wonder how long that formula is actually going to last when teams kind of figure it out. It's basically strong top side, bot lane plays to neutralize, and Razork likes to play through top and through mid, holding the hands of his laners, and then using that to his advantage to invade the enemy jungle. That's basically the plan of Misfits, and I think that they have picked up wins where they don't really deserve them, right? Let's take the G2 game, for example, where I think they just aced him with the Elder Dragon. That game wasn't won for them, but they got the win. And then games that they didn't really deserve to lose, like against Astralis, where they had the 10k gold lead. So everything is in balance right now, you know, with the little thing that was in the Avengers, you know, the penalties, everything's perfectly balanced. We'll have to see how they perform. As all things should be. As all things should be, that's the one. He's got my back for the memes, I knew he would. And I just think going towards the late stages of the split, they need to make sure they don't drop the ball, and they need to keep up innovation, because I think this formula is quite readable.
Yeah, I do like this focus also of Razork, by the way, who joined in the spring of 2020, and he's never had a bad split. He's never had a bad season. This guy has been performing at the top of the line ever since he joined, and he is up versus a Markoon, so he's probably going to have a leg up in terms of being able to play on the stage and having the experience to not be as stressed today?
Yeah, obviously way more experience. When Markoon was kind of playing in solo queue, maybe not even in competitive itself, he was playing Echo against G2 and 1v9ing the entire game when G2 looked undefeatable. So massive props to Razork, great growth. But Markoon's at a different stage in his career where Razork was similarly last year. So it's very great to see these two players, new faces to LEC over the last couple of years.
And both looking for a win, which they both need in the race for playoffs. They're coming off an 0-2 week, so let's see who bounces back in our opening game of week 6.